Maayong adlaw. Welcome to Season 3 of Philippine X in Wellness. I am your host, Cheryl Samson Ramirez. In our last episode, we spoke with married athletes Dr. Gina Dapul Hidalgo and Raniel Hidalgo to learn more about triathlons and marathons. That indeed was another inspirational episode on physical wellness that went into the books. This month, we're launching into the third episode of our physical wellness trilogy and returning to dance as we talk with Jardy Santiago to explore house dancing and health. Before we begin, we'd like to mention that we uphold and honor this safe space to share. We ask everyone to post comments and questions on our platform in a peaceful and respectful manner. Our pre-recorded episodes are accessible through our Philippine X in Wellness YouTube channel. The audio recordings are available via Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All views discussed are for informational and educational purposes only. It is not meant to be medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare practitioner for your particular condition, especially before starting any exercise or new health program. For this episode, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Jardy Santiago. Welcome to the podcast, Jardy.
Hey there, Cheryl. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're excited also this season to expand across regions and welcome you on as our first guest in the Sacramento area. So thank you for being here.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Now, we like to typically open our episodes with one of the first questions you're asked when someone finds out you're Filipino. Where is your family from in the Philippines, and where are you currently streaming from, in case that's different from where you're residing? And now, Jardy, I've known you for years and know that you're originally not from the Sacramento area, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So feel free to share with our community where you're also originally from.
I'm originally from, if you want to go way back, Quezon City in the Philippines. But shortly after, I was a kid, my family moved to San Jose, California, where I spent most of my life. And pretty much I lived in San Jose all the way up until 2017. And around 2017, I decided that I wanted to kind of see more. And I ended up moving around from a little bit in Europe, a little bit in Asia. Then when I came back to Arizona for a couple of years. And then after being acclimated to the lifestyle in Arizona and seeing how it was in the rest of the world, I was happy to move to Sacramento. Whereas before, that would have been a total no-go for me because, I'm just like very Bay Area, and Sacramento and Bay Area are very different places. So now I love it here. I been here for 2 years and it's been great.
So you're truly a global citizen. Where's your mother's and your paternal side? Where are they from in the Philippines?
Same thing for my father's side is Quezon City as well. Been there like forever. And then my mom, she was from the province. She was from Pangasinan.
Let's jump into our topic at hand, house. House music and dance, it's very near and dear to me, having grown up literally in the club scene like you. So I'm personally excited to feature this topic on our podcast. Now, Jardy, tell us about your origin story, starting off with how you got into house music and dance. Was it on the radio for you, in a club somewhere? Where did it all begin for you?
Okay, so I actually started out as a b-boy when I was about 15 years old. Around the time, b-boying was like everywhere. Like everybody was doing it, like in my high school. So I just felt like at the time I just wanted to be cool, like dancers were, because I saw people that were performing like in talent shows and on TV. I was immediately drawn to that. So b-boying was like my way into that. And actually, I have a little brother that also started b-boying with me. So we took that path together. His name, a lot of people know him. His name is Natron, b-boy Natron from the Headhunters crew. A lot of people are surprised that we're actually brothers, but yeah, he's my little brother, and we started b-boying together. And a year into b-boying, I also got into hip-hop dance because that was also everywhere around the time. I'm talking about like 1990s hip-hop dance. So I got into hip-hop dance, and then because of me studying hip-hop dance around like 99, 2000, the crew that I was with at the time called Soul Sector, the members basically told me, one of the members, it was Mikey Disco, he told me, you know what, there's another dance out there called House Dance that I don't know if he just kind of knew that I didn't know about it, but he told me about it. And I was like, that's interesting. How come I didn't know about that? And it's because, at the time, I wasn't really digging for music. I was just kind of like dancing to whatever was on, because a lot of the music back then was like danceable that was going on. It wasn't until like the earlier 2000s that, like music started changing for me, where hip hop wasn't like hip hop to me anymore. A lot of like Southern hip hop started getting in, and then I just felt like I couldn't dance to that. But because of the trend, because of the same people that were doing the hip hop that I was doing in New York, were also doing house dance. And when I found that out, I'm all like, I gotta learn, because they were doing it at the same time, and how come I wasn't, And I was kind of oblivious to them actually doing the dances. It's because a lot of the videos I've seen, they were dubbed, and then they were dubbed hip hop. So a lot of people are dancing like house dance moves, but you're hearing hip hop music. So I just kind of thought it was all hip hop, So once I found that out, I started doing more digging. I started finding more, and then with the help of my crew, they kind of helped me see what house dance is. So after that, I just like was hooked. I pretty much ditched hip hop. You know what I mean? I just like went straight into house, And at that time, I was already long gone with the b-boying. I wasn't b-boying anymore. But that's how I got into house dance personally, through my crew, also through my influences in New York, and just kind of like being educated on like, the music, and also like seeing the dance moves. Once I was told that it was a dance, I was starting to see it like in certain places, even in the Bay Area. Yeah.
Now, during that time, were you starting to, now that it's been introduced to you, did you also find places in the Bay Area where they were playing house music, and where you started to see the dance more prevalent?
Yeah, actually, around the time people were like talking in forums, so I started right away trying to find places to dance in. So I met this person, this dancer named Bobby, a long time ago, and I have since I haven't kept in touch with him at all. Like basically, we met up a few times. We met up in San Francisco. I believe it was Oakland or San Francisco, and he, like he was dancing and I was watching, and we kept in touch during that time. We also were able to meet up at Deep in LA, and I saw him dance there, and he was kind of like my introduction to seeing it in person. But I didn't, at the time, around that time, there was like no social media. It was very hard to keep in touch with people unless, like you were directly in contact with them through phone. And I'm just one of those introverts that has a very hard time keeping in touch with people. So eventually we just like lost touch. I never saw him on social media. and I'm not even sure if he'd remember me today, you know, from back then. So that was how I saw it in person here in the Bay Area. And also Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows
Amazing.
a DJ now, but he is an amazing dancer.
Yeah, seen footage.
Yeah, he's really dope, and he was doing house here as well. So I didn't have very many people to like watch house from, and also my crewmates. Two of my crewmates, Mikey and Renjay, they both got into house a little bit before I did, you know, or like started getting really into it. So they were dancing a lot together. So they were learning like a whole, you know, like they were like growing their house. And what's that? I tagged along for the ride, you know. So I was like, yeah, I want to do that too, you know. So that was it though. There weren't very many house dancers. What we would call house dancers like now. You know, there were a lot of people who danced to house music. House music was around already, and it was popular in the Bay. But in terms of like the house dancing that we know now, that we see now, not many people are doing that.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about music later, just because we know when it comes to dance, I mean, music and dance are like go hand in hand. It's like peanut butter and jelly. So I'm curious.
For sure, for sure.
Right. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. On that note, I feel like the people who dance for a long time do it for the music first, you know, rather than the dance. Like I love music. Like music like moves me, you know. So it's just one of those things.
Sure. Let's talk now about your teaching, because you teach house dance currently, right? So when did you start teaching house dance, and we'll start first with that before we talk about, because right now you're doing it online as an online platform. So when did you start teaching?
I started teaching house dance in 2002. Like 21 years ago. Wow. So but it was like this. I was living in Vegas at the time. I actually spent about a year living in Vegas between 2001 and 2002. And the reason for that is, 9/11 had just happened. And I just felt like, you know what, things are weird right now. I need a place where I could be a little bit more isolated. And so I moved to Vegas for a year. And around that time, there was not much to do in Vegas except practice for me. And I decided, like, you know what, I kind of want to, I want to teach. I want to teach this so that, for me, it keeps me accountable when I teach. So I started teaching at some random ballet studio, and only a couple of people would come by for the short time I was teaching there. But it gave me a taste of what it was like to teach a dance, and it's not easy. It's not, teaching is not an easy thing, you know, especially if you're just kind of walking into it with like no experience.
Yeah.
And after that, after my year in Vegas, I moved back to the Bay, and Odie Kim.
Yeah, Odie
is also one of our well-known house dancers in the West Coast, California. He offered me a teaching job at a studio called Dance Attack. And that's because he was teaching there at the time, and I don't remember the context, whether he was like planning to leave and they needed a new house teacher. But he basically either gave me his spot or just gave me a spot at that studio. And that's when I, started coming every week to teach both house and hip hop. I think I took a break from trying to teach house for a little bit and focus on my hip hop until I was more, like comfortable with teaching house dance. because at the time I was still a baby at the dance, is like a couple of years back then of doing the dance wasn't anything because you didn't have YouTube and you didn't really have anybody to teach you. So learning was a very slow process. Like, for example, it took me like a whole year to like figure out the loose legs. Like I can teach it in 5 minutes now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a big contrast. So that's when I started teaching around 2002, house and hip hop. Like, and since then I've done it consistently for over 20 years, and it's kind of become my thing. Like a lot of people become battlers, a lot of people become industry dancers, a lot of people get into choreography, but for me, like I love teaching. Like that was like the thing that I really wanted to do, which was at the time kind of like, I guess, like not common, when it came to like street dancers.
Yeah. Now, a lot of your popularity with your teaching actually blew up more when you transitioned to an online platform, right? So
yeah.
you started off teaching at a ballet studio when you were living in Vegas. When did you start to offer online classes?
I started teaching online in 2009.
Okay.
Actually, October 2009, from what I remember. And actually, the way that came about is that I wasn't even trying to teach online. What it was by 2009, I had already been dancing house for about 8 years. And I was getting tired of teaching the same moves every week in the studio because people were still learning the foundation. And California as a whole still didn't really know house dance yet. So every week I would come in and teach like the same basic moves. And I was like, you know what? I want my students to take a proactive approach and learn these moves by themselves so that I can come here and teach better stuff, like, or more things rather than these just basic movements that I do every week. So what I did was, for my students at the time, I had some regular students at the studio in City Dance in San Francisco. I made basically these 15 or so videos of basics. And I told them, like, here, I'm going to send these basics to you, practice them at home. And then when you come to the studio, you're going to be ready for, like more complicated material, right? And a lot of them gave me feedback and they said like, hey, you should totally release these. Like, they're so useful. And at the time I was like, I don't know, because I was like this young guy and I didn't want to like offend my teachers, and my teachers are all the, all these New York dancers that were like probably like 10 years my senior, you know what I mean? So I felt like, you know what, that's their job to be putting these out for the people to see, like they should be seeing them. And at the time, they had like demonstrations, but nobody had put out like actual like tutorials where it shows you how to do them, so after some convincing, I decided like, okay, fine, this is scary, but I'll try it. So I started kind of like releasing them slowly, like 3 videos at a time,
Yeah.
and I think every week I put out 3 videos or something, and I didn't even advertise it. I just put it on my YouTube, and around that time, I guess people were looking for exactly what I was putting out. So the first month, after not even letting anybody know that I had been uploading these videos, I had 300 new subscribers on my YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And that's after telling nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had said nothing at all. And I was like, who's finding these, And after that, I basically was getting more and more every month. Like it steadily stayed around 300, 400, 500 subscribers for like years after that. So, yeah. So after a year, I probably I had like, what's that? Probably 4,000 subscribers that I didn't ask for. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, and it just grew from there. It's currently at like I saw my numbers yesterday, and it was like 98,000 now or something like that. 98,200 or something like that. So, or I know 98,000 subscribers. So
That's
yeah.
crazy. And some people have to have a formula to get people to subscribe, but it just shows that the desire to learn this basic foundation of house dance is there, and you were able to launch at a time when people were hungry for it.
Yeah, totally. Like
Timing's everything.
It was totally timing for me.
Yeah.
Like I like to look at it as like, you know what, that was probably a lot of luck right there. Like I am very passionate about the dance, but for it to happen at that exact time, like I think it had to do with a lot of luck too.
For sure. So, there are probably people listening in our community that are wanting to explore house dance themselves and may not be able to access you directly in Sacramento. So could you tell us a bit about your curricula and how you walk people through your classes online? How do you personally structure them? You can talk about it both in person
Sure.
and online if you'd like.
Okay. I teach very different in person versus online.
Okay.
In person, I like to keep everybody moving. So, what's that? I want to make it fun in person.
Mm-hmm.
And usually how I start in person is I start out with my warm-up. And I've been doing the same warm-up for like over 13 years. I created a warm-up video, I think like in 2010 or 2011. And I've been doing it ever since. I've been doing that same warm-up. It's just, it works. That's why. It's like, why fix it, right?
Yeah.
So I start out with a warm-up, and then I teach basic movements and combinations for like the first 30 minutes. And I like to end my class with like choreography. And I just basically like to go through it all. I don't like to do all choreography, and I don't like to do just all basic movements either,
Mm-hmm.
But you might notice that something's missing in there, and it's the freestyle aspect. Like I started out as a freestyler, and that's very important in house dance. That's like essential because house dance is a very free movement, right?
Yeah.
Now, in my online course, that's what I teach. I teach how to freestyle. And I teach how to freestyle from day one. From day one of the course, you find out how you freestyle this dance. And I do that by using transitions. Now, that's something that a lot of teachers don't go over. A lot of teachers go over like basic foundation moves, but they don't really talk about the transitions and how to get in between the moves, like how to transition from one move to another. Around the time when I was trying to come up with this way of teaching, I was watching a lot of videos and trying to see like the similarities between dancers. And even though instinctively I knew these similarities, I needed to be able to express them and put them into words and be able to show people like exactly how house dance goes, like the way I do it and the way my mentors do it, So I started seeing all these like similar movements, like, oh, they just did that little one count movement right there to get from that move to that move. And I started noticing like how often they were used. Like there were some moves that were just like used all the time that kind of went over people's heads, Like people would learn them through like, like osmosis, but they didn't really explain it when it came time to like teaching another person. So those were the things like I took and I said like, all right, these are the transitions that are very commonly used in house and very rarely taught. And in 2014, I started my online class where people actually paid a monthly subscription to like learn how to freestyle and learn, like house dance from me. So in 2014, with the help of one of my students, his name is Aaron, he said, like, make it as easy as possible to learn how to dance, because he was helping me create a business. He was actually my business mentor at the time, and he was a student of mine. He was a student first, but he was so grateful for house dance and the way I taught him, that he wanted to help me back, because house dance kind of like, saved him from a few dark moments back then. But he was my business mentor at the time, and he just told me, make it as easy as possible for people to learn. And I got to work. Like, it took me 6 months to like figure out this whole transition thing and put it down on paper. And then I started shooting, and it came up with a like 23 video series that was just 2 hours long, but each video was like focused on a transition that you could learn, so that you can start basically learning how to house dance like within a week. So I was getting students that were learning how to house dance like in a week. Like, of course, it was like rough, but they were, they were still learning how to either dance or move or get things clean. But they knew the vocabulary within like, even a day of watching this video, And for those who practice really hard, or those who had like house movement but like very little foundation, they were able to get the foundation to like look like a legit house dancer, like very fast, So in 2014 was my online class. 2018, with the help of my partner Mylin, she helped me turn it into a course. Now it feels more like like a course. It feels more like college and stuff like that for people who want to keep learning, because back then it was a 2-hour video or 2-hour series of video. Now it's been expanded to a year. So if you want to keep going and you want to keep learning, you want to stay accountable, turn in homework and stuff like that, you can take the course and, learn many different elements within house dance through a year.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you pretty much studied it like a science and have broken it down accordingly, scientifically, when you describe it.
Yeah.
And I think it's also pretty incredible that you're able to teach freestyle, because I think usually, from what I've seen, freestyle is the expression of the individual.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you've been able to teach foundation while at the same time harness people's individual expression within the process.
Yeah. Within my course, I do encourage people to find their way,
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are going to be some people out there that literally just want to learn what I do. Like, like they want to be, I want to be like Jardy. There are people like that. And there are people that, and then there are also people that want to find their own way completely, And those kind of dancers, I would recommend my course to those kind of dancers, because like, you have your artistic vision. You should go with that. You should find your way, because the way my course is, it teaches you how to dance a certain way. It teaches you the way I learned how to dance from my New York mentors.
Right.
So if you want to learn how to dance like them and dance like me, take this course. If you want to learn how to dance like nobody else, then probably this course isn't for you, or you could probably take it and learn a few moves to like add to your repertoire and stuff like that. But overall, I do a lot of hand holding, and those are the people like I cater to, because not everybody wants to be super free and not know which direction they're going, Some people want to be given something very specific, like, I want to learn how to dance like this.
Right.
Kind of like a lot of ballroom dances, they teach you how to dance a very specific way,
Right.
Like salsa, it's very specific. There's very specific steps, that you have to learn together. Otherwise, like, you're not gonna know how to like coordinate if you don't even know what's coming up next, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So I teach in a way that you have like a kind of like a palette of very specific movements. Now, the way that you do those movements is really up to you, but the moves and movements are there for you to use,
Yeah. This career of teaching house has brought you into leading workshops and classes in other countries. You mentioned earlier that you were able to live in Europe, in Asia, in other states within the U.S. Are there some memorable moments or countries that you've taught in that have made a powerful impact on you? And if so, where, and tell us about that.
You know what? Yeah, actually, it was, I think, my most memorable moment with dance. I'm sure there are a lot, but this is the one that came up to me right now because I didn't rehearse this at all. Is teaching in Kathmandu in Nepal, and Nepal at the time was not even a place that was on my radar whatsoever, right? Around the time my partner and I were deciding, we were living in the Philippines for a little bit, Mylin and I, and around that time, we were still learning a lot about each other, so we were fighting a lot, you know what I mean? So we were fighting a lot, and we decided, you know what, maybe we should take separate trips out somewhere so we could recompose and figure ourselves out. And I was like, now where the heck would I go? We just came back from Japan, which is like my favorite place to visit. And we just came back from Belgium as well. We stayed in Belgium for like a month, figuring out whether we wanted to stay in Belgium, you know? So after Belgium and Japan, I was like, I already went to Europe. I already went to another like East Asian country. So what now? You know? So she actually said, why don't you go to Nepal? And I was like, Nepal? And I was like, yeah, maybe a spiritual journey might be like what I need right now. So I didn't know anybody in Nepal at all. So I asked for the help of dancers who recently went there. And some of the local dancers went like that through All the Way Live. What's that? Some of the dancers that were with them, I think it was probably Laura Kirkby that helped me out with this one. I think she was
that trip actually.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Shout out to Surgeon, Freya, Cody, and Amy.
Yeah,
Isaac. Yeah, All the Way Live for sure.
Yeah, since they were there, I was able to be introduced to my now friend Deepesh. So
he's the best.
Yeah, Deepesh is awesome. So I didn't know Deepesh at all, and he didn't know me at all either.
Yeah.
So I came in there like, we were like, hey, what's up? Are you gonna help me? You know what I mean? And the thing is, I needed more help than you can imagine because I needed to get from Kathmandu to I believe it was Pokhara. And it was 8 hours, an 8-hour bus drive away in a country that I didn't know how to speak the language, where many people did not speak English, you know? So he basically, he housed me for a couple of days at his place, Deepesh did. And, I told him like, I'll teach a workshop for you in exchange for this help, right? And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. He got me on a bus. He dropped me off, got me on a bus. And then that bus took me to wherever I needed to go, like 8 hours away. And from there, I stayed for like a couple of nights until I started my trek. Like I took a 6-day trek by myself with no guide, and I just kind of like wanted to do it myself. Like it was tough as hell. Like I had like 30 pounds of stuff on my back the whole time, and I was walking for like miles every day, and like the hills, going up and down, going up 1,000 steps, going through like all this nature. And it was it was amazing, you know? And it was kind of like one of those things that really can bring a tear to your eye, you know? Like, like some of the nights it's like, wow, this is just like, I'm out here by myself, out in like, you know, like nature. And it was just amazing, you know? And then when I came back, I came back, and just coincidentally, two of my now friends too, Depesh's friends at the time, well, they're all still friends, Sonu and Janisha.
Yeah, great.
They just happened to be at a dance competition in Pokhara, you know? I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right anymore. I haven't seen.
Pokhara, yeah.
Yeah, is it Pokhara? Okay. So I haven't even looked at the words in a long time. But they just happened to be there for a dance competition, and they took the bus ride with me back. And it was everything just kind of like aligned, you know? It was just so nuts. So after that, I taught a workshop, and, you know, like people in Nepal, they're just like amazing. What's that? It was like one of the greatest trips, like just so epic, you know? And I got to see like the Annapurna mountains and stuff like that. It was just like, I woke up at like 5 a.m., walked up these steps. It's called like, oh man, I forgot the name of the mountain, but it's pretty funny. Like it's it's kind of like sexual sounding. Yeah, the mountain that I what's that, the hill that that I climbed to see like the sunrise with the Annapurna mountains in the background. It was just amazing. Yeah. So
Nepal, it's a beautiful country with beautiful people. I mean, I hope that, you know, like our listeners or, you know, people that are viewing get to go there someday.
Yeah. And I came back another time, actually, you know. I came back another time, and yeah, it was just as amazing. But I didn't do the trek this time. This time, Depeche flew me in to judge a competition. And
nice.
Yeah, it was so awesome.
Yeah. I think we're at a good point in our break, Jardy. So it's been a great first half talking with you, and we're barely touching the surface about house dancing and health. We're at the first half of our segment, so thank you all for joining us for our fifth episode of season 3. We're talking with Jardy Santiago. Feel free to take a quick stretch, refill your water or tea. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back to Philippine X in Wellness. You were just listening to the first part of Jojo Flores' edit of Boddhi Satva's The Depth of the Source featuring Yuba off of Boddhi Satva's 2008 EP, Ode to Ancestral Healing, through the label Offering Records. For those of you new to Jojo Flores, he's a Filipino-Canadian tireless ambassador of soulful dance music to every corner of the world. A master DJ known as house music's mixtape king, CEO of Got Soul Records, current music director for Four Seasons Hotel Montreal, Bar Nakaha, if I pronounce that right or wrong, my apologies, and Bar George. He is a restaurateur and co-owner of Junior Restaurant and Cafe Got Soul with his brother Toddy Flores, all based in Montreal, Quebec. You can help support Jojo Flores by following him on Instagram at DJ Jojo Flores. You can find his music and mixes on most streaming platforms, including Mixcloud, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Shout out to our Philippine accent Filipino DJs out there laying down the tracks. And I'm going to actually start with music, Jardy. So since we just ended with Jojo Flores' rendition of Bodhisattva's track, I'm sure that there are some listeners or viewers out there that are curious to know where can they source like good house music? Where do you find the house music for your classes, and what's your way of digging, I guess?
Okay. Here's my journey with the whole looking for music thing. So around like the early 2000s, I was really into collecting music, and I had a ton of hip hop tracks because at the time, music was starting to become available online. I mean, you were stealing it pretty much, but you were able to find like these like rare tracks that you would otherwise have to like really dig around for in person. So I had like this vast music collection, hip hop music collection at the time, and basically the hard drive that it was all on crashed.
There's always a technical nightmare. Yeah.
And I lost all that music. And ever since then, I have not had the same motivation to look for music like the way I did back then. So now I just kind of rely on, of course, like probably a lot of people do this. I just rely on like YouTube or Spotify to basically throw music at me, like SoundCloud and things like that. And the way I search for music nowadays is I will just go on YouTube or SoundCloud and I'll just put like soulful music mixed. And then what the first thing that sounds like it's my style, like, oh, I like this, I'm feeling this, I'll listen to the whole mix. And then I won't even know what I just listened to. I just would know that I was feeling it, you know? And that's how I do most of my videos too. My videos on Instagram, I pretty much just choose a song. It's not necessarily a song I've listened to forever. It's just a song that I'm like, I'm feeling this right now. I'm going to dance to this right now, you know? So, So the things I would search for, like soulful music mixes and stuff like that. Lately, I've been listening to what they call now like lo-fi house, which is very much like elevator music, you know. But for some reason, like that's I like that, you know. Like I've been listening to and dancing to a lot of lo-fi house lately, and it's kind of become my thing that people have, you know, known me for the past like year, I believe. But before that, I used to dance to a lot of songs with you know, like a lot of vocals and things like that. Things that I danced to before when I first started like a similar style to what I was dancing to before when I was like learning how to dance house is what I would usually look for, you know? And also, okay, but in terms of artists, there aren't that many that come to mind because I'm very bad with artist names. But Black Coffee like never disappoints. So
South
I look,
Africa.
yeah, I
Yes.
look for Black Coffee mixes by name. Like I just like Black Coffee mix, something like that.
Yeah.
It's always awesome to hear him. What's that? I like a lot of songs from like Carrie Chandler. Yeah.
Another great one. Yeah.
And what's that? And often I'll go to Defected's page on Instagram and see what they've been sharing from artists and stuff like that. So it really is just kind of like being in the know of where to find it, you know? So like Defected Records or something. You could go on their Instagram and they have a whole bunch of like, they share a whole bunch of house music that you could just like listen to and be like, that one, I like that one, you know? And yeah. Shazam also. Shazam's your friend. So that's pretty much how I like find music. It's just bumping into it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because the house category is wide in itself. House music. I mean, and even house music, right? It's placed also into, and I know this could be debatable, but it's also placed in the genre of electronic music. So you're saying in particular for your lessons or your classes, you tend to go into soulful house, house with vocals, or like what you mentioned, lo-fi house. But there's also some house that's very tech-like, or less vocals, and depending on the region too, right? Like even like Detroit house can be really different from South Africa or New York, right? So in terms of dancing, that's your preference, right? But also, would you say that like the type of dance that you teach, could it translate to different styles of house, or
Yes, actually.
different styles and that?
Yeah, because I have been pretty much obsessed with house dance for like the past 20 years. I have learned other ways that people have danced house dance to different types of music. So, for example, in the early 2000s, the jacking style came to be like more of a popular thing, because before that it was really all about the salsa-ish movements and footwork that were very smooth, and then out of nowhere dancers like Which Way Shaw and Tony McGregor started bringing out this hard jacking movement that was like totally different from the smooth finessey type of movements that I was used to. So at that time, that type of movement translated to more like tech house and harder house. Right. So around that time, I was listening to a really hard house and learning how to do that movement. And that movement has stuck with me ever since. I'll bring it out once in a while, depending on what music I'm listening to. And also, before that, around 2006, 2007, not before that, around around the time that I was learning about the jacking style, I was dancing with what you would call like this word. Some people don't use this word and some people do. And I'm talking about the word lofting. So lofting is, I would just say that it's the smoother, it's where the house movement came from. And it's basically a smoother movement, and definitely a smoother movement than just doing the footwork of house dance, So there was a person named Abdul, and he was from Philly, and I was introduced to him from cricket who is one of my mentors even till today. Cricket educates me on so much stuff even till today. But Abdul, in kind of like the mid 2000s, I was dancing a lot with him at the local clubs in Oakland. So we were going to like Lucas Lounge every week. And basically he was the person that I learned my house movement from in person, because I watched a lot of people through videos, but in person he was like my main influence. So my main influence in terms of house dance was this lofter, basically, or this person who did like these movements that were on the smoother side and not really about the fast footwork. So I have that experience of dancing to like, because the music that he would share with me is all this soulful, really smooth stuff that's compatible with that dance. And then I was also learning a lot of like hard jacking and choppy movements from these other dancers in New York, and listening to a lot of harder house, tech house, and stuff like that. So I think it's for me, I could translate different types of music to or translate my movement to a whole different, like pretty much every house genre. I even dance to trap music occasionally because my hip hop, me coming from hip hop, I still love dancing to hip hop, and trap is kind of like, house tempo and hip hop, like, hip hop lyrics and stuff like that. And I think dancing to trap is very enjoyable for me,
Yeah. You're talking about lofting, but I'm not sure that our community really knows the definition of lofting. So I actually am maybe now confused. I thought that lofting had to do with floor work, but not necessarily. Is there more to it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of defining lofting?
Yeah. Okay. So lofting is a word that not everybody uses because not everybody comes from the loft. The loft is a club in New York, and what's that? Lofting. There are dancers that would rather have lofting be just defined as just plain freestyle.
Okay.
Like I'm not defined as freestyle. Be called freestyle. Like instead of calling it lofting, there are people that would rather call it freestyle. The people probably like that aren't from the loft. But
yeah,
the thing is, like, for me, I like to educate myself on the history, but I don't like to talk a lot about the history because I'm not the history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe someday I will be, but right now, the people who made the history, who were there, they're still alive. And I feel like they should be really the ones talking about these things because, like, they were the ones that created it. They were the ones that evolved it. And I was just along for the ride and, learn from them, or the people or their students, they're like either I learned from them or their students.
Right.
But in terms of that, if I were to call it lofting right now, right, just to keep things like clean right now, I look at it more as a way of moving rather than like you going to the floor, because anybody can get down on the floor. Like if a person starts b-boying during their house dance round or something like that, you would not just automatically call that like lofting. You know what I mean? So it's a very specific way of moving. So and it's usually defined by like it's kind of like you're going through molasses or something like that, going something very thick. Like that's when you get like really smooth with it, And not everybody goes down on the floor gets down like that. Not everybody like melts,
Right.
So melting, I define like that certain way of moving. I characterize it by like melting, circular movements that flow, like a lot of flow. Like basically once you go in and start dancing, you flow until the very end, you know, like no hard stops or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that to me is what I would
Define
call
like that's lofting.
Yeah, that's what I learned as lofting, like growing up in this dance and not just like getting down on the floor, you know?
Right.
Like, yeah, like I believe that you can pull off that style without even touching the floor, you know? Yeah. So the most easily, like the most famous person that that everybody looks at that has that movement would be like Ejo. So you look at the way Ejo moves, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And for those of you that are into like digging and knowing history, Ejo Wilson from New York. Now let's talk about the importance of physical wellness and its place within our like in our community. So how do you personally see house dance as an important part of not only caring for your own health, but a physical activity that folks in our diaspora can get into? I know and can adopt. I know earlier you mentioned that one of your students that was helping you to build your business, your online business, also used health as a way to get through. You mentioned like his dark moments. So let's take the opportunity to talk about the health benefits of engaging in house dance as maybe a form of physical and, as you mentioned, mental wellness.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think it's pretty much universal to know that exercise helps with both physical and mental health. For me, whenever I teach a class, I come out of class just glowing, and I'm just like, I just feel like like on top of the world after class. You know, I'm sure not all teachers feel that way. Some probably feel drained or something like that mentally. But for me, I feel like really fulfilled mentally and physically. Like I just feel great, you know. I just feel like I just did my purpose there, you know. But speaking back on my student, like he took my house dance class for years, and not only did it help him get out of his dark spot, he met his wife in there too. So now he's like married with kids. He's got, I don't see him house dancing as much or like at all, pretty much. I know he still knows how to do it. But, I'm sure it'll always be there because he helped me, with my journey into creating a business from house. Like he really pushed me. And I actually pushed it away at one point. Like I was like, no, you know what? I don't want to turn this into a business. I love it too much. He actually was like, but this is pretty much what you were created for. Now it took me, he actually convinced me, and I'm very, very grateful for him because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this now, because this would just end up as still a hobby. But now this is like what I do, and I'm able to, give people like the best of me because of him, But physical wise, I have learned a lot throughout the years about my body through just staying physical with house dance. Now, for the first I just turned 45 2 days ago. So July 23rd, Leo, I'm a Leo, and that was my birthday. And for a long time, all the way up until my mid-30s, I actually felt like my body was invincible. Like I had very little issues with my body. I was just very lucky because I know dancers, once they even reach like 30, they're like, oh my God, you start to feel it. And I'm like, really? Like, and I'm doing a dance where you're jumping around. It's like, it's not easy, So around, not even 35, I'd say around like 37, when like my body started to feel a little bit different. Even though I was like consistent, I would like I would get the kind of like these nagging pains. Like I'm not sure if everybody knows about plantar fasciitis, but that is the pain on the bottom of your foot that runs along the bottom of your foot, mainly in the heel or in the, like the arch. But I started getting that about like 2016. And every day I would wake up, I'd get out of bed and be like, ow, that hurts to walk around. And it just like would hurt to to just even get around until like your body like kind of gets used to the pain, or it goes away after a while. But every day it would be like a new pain, you know what I mean? Like with that. And because of that, I got into really studying like all the things that could go wrong with your body if you're not preparing it for this activity. Because before that, I thought like if you just keep doing it, you got it. You know what I mean? But now I'm more conscious, like at 45, about like doing the right things for my body so that I can keep doing this for another like 15, 20 years. That's something like I take really seriously. Like longevity is a very serious thing for me because I really love this dance. I really love teaching. And I want to be able to do this for as long as I could, So so that has brought me into a few things like nutrition, resistance training, stretching, even meditating. And all those things have helped me stay in this, like a lot of people, they say stuff like, oh yeah, I'm getting too old for that. Like, I don't feel too old. I just keep up. I just keep up with the demands of my body.
Tell us more about the resistance training. So I do know, Jardy, that I have some friends of mine that are also dancers, and we actually interviewed, I don't know if you're familiar with Ace and Bea. They were break dancers on our breakdancing and wellness episode. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that we...
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about was also doing dance in the long run, right? And you mentioned resistance training, stretching. So, and we'll cover the other things that you mentioned. So tell us more about what type of resistance training do you practice that you find is helpful to make sure that your career, is a long-term thing?
Yeah. So when I first, I used to be a heavy lifter back in the day. I know I don't look at like it now, but I was like about 15 years ago. And around that time, I gained like, an extra 10 pounds of muscle on my body, or lean mass. I'm not necessarily going to say like muscle, but lean mass. And it made me very heavy and stiff. And I just, I liked the way I looked, but I didn't like the way I danced. I just like looked like this big hulking guy, right? And after that, like my motivation for, like I want to stay fit all the time, but my motivation to go hardcore with it is not always there. So once I kind of like stopped being hardcore about heavy lifting, I like went back to my regular weight, and I decided, okay, heavy lifting is not what I want to keep doing. I don't want to lift too heavy. I don't want to gain too much lean mass. So nowadays, I'm more into like body weight exercises and being able to like, do pull-ups, do dips, do like, what else is there? Like I have a Roman chair where you could work on like back extensions to work out your back. And I like to work with like kettlebells. A lot of people a lot of people like to work with kettlebells these days because they're convenient, and and you also get to work on movement, not just like lifting, but being able to like throw weight around. So these days, that's what I like to do. Recently, I've been really into working out the muscles of my legs. And I think this is like a recent trend that started with, sure, a lot of people know, but the knees over toes guy. There's this guy on YouTube that basically, apparently, I don't know his whole history, but he had like a major knee injury. And he had to come out of that. He had to come back out of that to be able to do the physical things that he does now. So like, he like dunks a basketball and is able to do all these crazy things coming from like, like a major knee surgery, right? So that's kind of like what he puts out. And I started like looking into him. Also, like a couple of my friends are into that, so they've been giving me tips on like, because before I was like a heavy lifter, and it wasn't really much about mobility. I just thought like if I had the muscle to be strong, then I wouldn't get injured. But now it's also about like working on like the muscles that you didn't even know were there, So now I work like my calves, my tibialis, you know what I mean? Which is like your, like the muscles, I guess, like in front of your shin. That's your tib. So, and I'm working on my feet. I actually got a book called Fixing Your Feet just a few days ago. And because of my plantar fasciitis, I wanted to like finally get rid of it once and for all. And I'm just like, like I'll obsess over like YouTube videos and kind of like figuring out like, what is this specific thing that I do have, and what is the common thing that everybody's saying about it? You know what I mean? So like little body exercise like that, like when I'm talking about feet, there's these exercises where you basically just flex your arch, or you can press down hard onto the floor, and you're pressing down hard on the floor and giving it like resistance and stuff like that. Those are like the things I've been working on. And I'm very actually lucky that a lot of my dance is very below the waist based, because like, I don't really deal with shoulder injuries. You know what I mean? Like B-boys do. And so a lot of my stuff I could just focus on like legs these days, and that's enough for me. And also like the lower back, because there's a lot of like when you do spins, you want to make sure that is like you're able to move your lower back and have it stay flexible and stay strong so that you don't hurt your core. Things like that. But I'm glad to say that my knees have never felt better. They're in great shape. My knees are in great shape. My feet I'm working on, but what's that? Actually, just like a month and a half ago, I had an Achilles injury, and it's because I started teaching again weekly, and I just went like really hard one day, and my Achilles was like, I didn't rupture it or anything, but it was really stiff for a whole week afterwards. And after that, I realized like, why is it like this? So I went to the books again, found out that, I haven't been working out my calves, like I let my calves get weak. So, like having that information, I went to work. I rehabbed myself within like 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, like my calves, my tibialis, they were like stronger than they've ever been. And then my Achilles injury is like gone. The last time I had the same Achilles injury, I couldn't get out of it for 6 months. I couldn't walk for 6 months in 2019 because of the Achilles injury. Now I got out of it within a month and a half, stronger than ever, And it's things like that. It's because like, when it's kind of like you can't always rely on like a physical therapist to like tell you what to do. You have to be self-motivated to keep going. It has to be like part of the thing that you want to do if you want to be able to like stay in it for life. You know, you have to
Yeah.
be self-motivated to become strong.
I'm glad that you're talking about all these different injuries and how you've recuperated from them. We just launched our marathons and triathlons episode prior to yours. And so especially for folks that do a lot of running, they probably experience a lot of the similar injuries, like knee problems. I know Achilles injury is like common amongst dancers, and probably even some of the foot injuries that you mentioned. So it's really important and I think helpful for folks to kind of hear what are ways that you can recuperate from these injuries in the absence of a physical therapist, and what are some tools that people can utilize if they do experience similar injuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's I'm actually really excited whenever I get excited when I come across an injury that I know I can overcome, because I know that when I get that injury, that once I overcome it, I'm not gonna let it easily happen to me again. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
kind of like it's something that I overlooked before, and then now I'm keeping an eye on it. You know? Yeah.
Totally. And the knees is important. A lot of people have knee problems, especially as they age, right?
Yeah.
With walking. So that's an important one to figure out how to continue to strengthen. Um, what about, I really want to explore Jardy, because I've also heard a lot of people say that dance is their therapy, right? And that they don't maybe feel like they need talk therapy, because when they go to the club and dance, for example, to like house music, it heals them. So I actually want to explore that component with you. I mean, we've talked about physical wellness just now, but how do you also see, has house dance served its, that purpose for you in regards to helping you also get through some challenging times?
Definitely it has. I think if I didn't have dance, I wouldn't be as physically and mentally well as I am today, because house, like just dance in general, is a release and something that you can do for free. You know, you don't need money to dance. And if you really love dance, it's just a great way to like let out whatever is bottled up, you know? With that said, though, I have also done regular therapy, like where I go to a therapist, and that has helped a lot with learning about myself. I think it all goes together. Like, you need it all. Now, I know not everybody can like afford therapy. Like, therapy is a luxury in this country, you know? So, with that said, if I couldn't have that, house dance would pretty much be my go-to, because house dance lets me connect with people. And I think a lot of our problems these days, now this is just my opinion, is due to the isolation that comes with not being able to connect with people. And I think house dance is one of those dances that it's just natural for you to connect. Actually, it's encouraged that you connect with other people when you're a house dancer. It's not like you're a b-boy where you're battling, but even b-boys connect with each other, you know? A lot of dances that are not known about connection, it really is though. But house dance, it's like really about connection. So it kind of like, it is the dance if you want to really connect, you know? In my opinion, that's my opinion.
Right. Now let's talk more about your trajectory as a house instructor, as a house dancer. What are your personal and professional goals when it comes to your own house dance journey? Where would you like to take it next?
You know, I'm one of those people that just likes to go with the flow. So I have literally gotten to where I am by just going with the flow. That was kind of like that was given to me, you know, like, and I attribute it to a lot to the people around me. So many people have helped me get to where I am today. And it's just kind of like, it was just very lucky that I was in their presence at the time to help me, for us to mutually help each other to rise above it all, So I have never been really a planner. Everything that I have planned, it's because somebody has motivated me to do it. From my student Aaron to my partner Mylin, they've helped me, and they're more like planners, So they helped me get to where I am today because of their they're just much better at it than I am, So I can't do everything myself. I can do a lot by myself. Like, I actually do all my camera work, all my editing, and of course all my talking and writing scripts and the teaching that I do. But I can't cover all the bases, and for all those other things, it's the people that have supported me that have helped me with that. And with that said, I don't know what the future holds. It's just, who am I going to meet next? You know what I mean? That's going to be that's going to be able to help me with like a new thing that could come out in the future.
Well, within the world of house dancing, are there other dancers out there that inspire you or that have played a key role in your development as a house dancer that you like to shout out? I know you mentioned that you had teachers and mentors. Some of them you actually mentioned, like Abdul from Philly, and you mentioned Cricket and Ijo. Who are the teachers or other dancers out there that have influenced your journey, and where are they located and why?
Okay, I actually wrote this down because this is one of those things that I don't want to, I tend to freestyle so many things in my life. This is not one of those things because it's a lot of names. So here are the list of people, probably even in order, that have helped me throughout the years. And these are, I'd like to first start out that every single one of the people I learned from, my mentors, they're all Black. And it's because I've always looked at hip hop and house dance as Black dances. And so for me, I really wanted to learn from the source, and I'm very grateful that these Black artists were there for me and passed this art form down to me, But Abdul, of course, Abdul, Cricket, Brooklyn Terry. Brooklyn Terry is like, dude, he is like my idol. That guy has inspired me. I haven't mentioned him all podcasts, but his style is really what inspired me to pursue house dance. When I first saw him dance, I was like, dude, I want to do that, like for real, Like that's
he's currently based in Japan.
He actually just recently moved back to New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So folks want to find him.
Past 2 weeks, yeah, he's back.
They can find him in New York. Okay.
But yeah, I actually met up with him in Japan to do a couple of collaboration videos. He's just such a great person. He's like, just so cool. Buddha Stretch, Shakan, also known as Conway. We were, me, him, and Cricket, we all were in Soul Sector at one point. And he helped me with figure out a lot of footwork stuff that I wanted to figure out. And he's just really dope footworker. Of course, Ijo, in addition to Abdul, have helped me move smoothly in my dance, And it's kind of like my main thing now is flow and smoothness. And I have Ijo and Abdul to.
Jardy, feel free to also share where they're located in case other people want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So going back, I think
Abdul is currently living in Oakland, but I don't see him dance anymore. What's that? He is a tall ass guy, and I know what the body can do to tall individuals. So Cricket used to live in New York, used to be from Philly before that, but now he lives in LA. So for all you SoCal dancers, I really recommend Cricket because he has so much information that you're not going to find anywhere else. And I'm not, I'm not exaggerating when I say that, he's a dictionary and he's a great source for information. Brooklyn Terry in New York, Buddha Stretch. Buddha Stretch is everywhere, but he's from New York, but he just travels the world doing what he does. Shakan is also from the East Coast. Now I don't know exactly what city. It could be New York. I think it could be Connecticut. I'm not exactly sure right now, but he's a family man, so you're not going to catch him a lot. But he does DJ, so look out for him. Just look out for Conway, dope DJ. Ejo, he's New York also. Khalif, also New York. Shah, Which Way Shah, I believe he's still in New York. I haven't seen him around lately, especially after like COVID hit. I just haven't seen a lot of these dancers. I know they're still around, but things have changed a lot since then. Shaness is also from New York, but he travels around. His other home base is Hong Kong, I believe, but I believe he's in New York right now. Brian Green, we all know Brian Green. He currently lives in Texas or Atlanta. No, either Atlanta or Houston, okay? I'm not exactly sure right now, but he's there, and he's a great source for all you Southerners, yeah, if you ever catch him. I believe he retired from teaching, but not sure. You never know. Marjorie, rest in peace. Marjorie is like a super big influence on me, and it's sad that we lost her like really, really too early. Sekou is also from New York. He's an excellent teacher. Tony McGregor, Sekou and Tony McGregor are both in Dance Fusion and what's that? Those two, I really love their style and how they go to the ground. So for anybody who likes to do floor work, but are looking for like stuff that's really intense, like those two I totally recommend. And I'd like to also mention Tracy Bartlow. Tracy Bartlow is from Oakland, and she actually taught me how to Lindy Hop in Charleston. And she took me in and let me perform with her during a Malcolm X festival. I believe it was a Malcolm X festival. But yeah, she taught me Lindy Hop in Charleston, and those two dances I think are so good. Those, like, Lindy Hop is like my favorite partner dance. I wish I could be doing it more, but I just it's because I love jazz, Jazz is like my favorite music genre. So, and aside from that, an honorable mention is Meech from France. Now, I'm not gonna lie, okay, because I could have probably left Meech out because I never took any lessons from him, but he was a big influence on my style in the early 2000s, because that's when he was getting popular. And I think his style was just really awesome during that time, and he influenced my style in several ways during that time. So those are people that have all had kind of an effect on me when it comes to this dance. Sorry that took so long, by the way, but I wanted to give everybody their their props.
Yeah, no worries. And Mitch is in Paris, right, Jardy?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know he's in France, but Paris, I'm pretty sure he's in Paris right now.
Sweet. Now, for our community, are there dance practice sessions that you'd like to mention in different regions for individuals that would like a starting point or some external motivation? Just especially because we know that we have people, tuning in from all over.
I had just given some recommendations to somebody for Bay Area dance sessions. And right now, the Bay Area is really, really hot when it comes to house dance. Like, there are so many people that want to learn over there or are doing it already. And so we got sessions in the Bay Area on Mondays right now. We have Rebirth, which is in Dance Mission. And then there's this new session that's happening in Oakland next to Alameda called Flow Sesh. And that is in a studio called Flow House. And then also in Oakland on Fridays, there's an outdoor session. And also my homie Rama teaches there weekly, but it's followed by a session and just plain old good music. It's outdoors in Lake Merritt, and that's called Days Like This in Oakland on Fridays. So those three things are happening, and like every third Friday, we got Elements in Oakland, and that's by Patrick Wilson and Nina Soul. That's great house music, so you can rely on that for like your house fix. But we also like just kind of have random like house things here and there that people meet up at and like dance. It's like really popular in the Bay Area right now. I'm really surprised, you know.
Also, Simmer Room.
Oh yeah, Simmer Room. My God. Okay. Sorry, Cody. Simmer Room is also a thing. The thing is, I feel like Simmer Room is like I've never gone. I've been wanting to go. Koflo is a homie of mine, and what's that? But I always felt like Simmer Room was more like a private session. You know what I mean? Like where you have to be invited to get in it. Of course I've been invited, but I just haven't gone. I live so far. You know what I mean? And Simmer Room didn't come around until like post-COVID. You know what I mean? So like for me to get over there, I'd have to take the journey. But Simmer Room is also dope. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Wednesdays, and that's in Fremont for those that are. Yeah.
I believe that's in Cody and Amy's house. So they run it out of their own house. Yeah.
So. All right. Before we close, we always like to ask our guests if you have other wellness practices that you'd like to share. So what do you do for self-care that I might not have mentioned that others might find inspirational? I know, Jardy, you talked about meditation. Mm-hmm. That's a big one for you. Feel free to talk about that further, or maybe bring up something that you haven't mentioned so far.
Well, I'd like to get into more about the meditation. I got into meditation actually when I was in a dark spot back in like late 2015 or early 2016. And it was just a place where I felt like I couldn't get out of for a while. So I started meditating, daily, twice a day for about 20 minutes. And the type of meditation I did, it was just like, literally, it was just sit there, be present, take everything out of your mind, whatever comes in, don't work too hard to try to get it out, but just let it pass through and just breathe, And that helped me so much. I did it for like 90 days straight. And by the end of those 90 days, I was able to like wipe my mind immediately. As soon as I closed my eyes, everything would disappear. So for those people who are overthinkers, or people like with a lot of anxiety, you might want to give that a try. At first, it's going to be super difficult, but if you keep going with it and you just stay consistent, magic will happen. Like I've had some magical things happen during meditation. Like I've had one in Nepal during the trek. I meditated like near a waterfall, and like I just had like a euphoric moment. One time in Tahoe, like tears started running down my eyes while I was meditating, and I didn't know why. I'm not even that emotional when you know what I mean, when it comes to like showing like outward emotion like that, but like it just happened. There's like meditation is can be a magical thing if you stay consistent with it and then you do it with intention. But other than that, I think one thing you could do is to always just listen to your body, pay attention to like what you feel, and always educate yourself on what you could be doing to stop things from getting worse if you're feeling something wrong with your body. I've been very fortunate to have a body that still works at 45, and so that whenever I do feel something wrong, it's immediately there. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of 45-year-olds where chronic pain and chronic whatever is already part of their lives. Like, if you can still reverse that up to a point, depending on what you have, of course. But it's good to always just look out after yourself, like really have it's really like self-care, like look into it and educate yourself. And I don't mean educate yourself as in don't listen to like experts out there. What I mean is like look at every option you have and experiment, as long as like stretching is not going to hurt you. You know what I mean? Like experiment with that, like stretching, like different types of like movements is not going to hurt you. Like look into those and try them out and see if they work for you.
And then nutrition is also a part of your regimen, right? So what is that? What's your nutritional regimen?
Well, you know what? Nutrition, I'm going to say, is one of those things that I am highly inconsistent with. And it's usually one of those things where I go like I pig out for months at a time, and then I take the time to like lose the weight that I've gained for the next few months after that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how actors in Hollywood, like before a role, they get into character. That's often how I do it. Like, okay, I'm getting like my knees are starting to feel that I've gained 10 pounds. I need to lose that, But, I'm very militaristic when it comes to nutrition. So when it comes to, like, I often just try to eat, like, like not unprocessed foods, try to not have too much sugars throughout the day, very much limit my caffeine. I only drink tea and stuff like that. I don't drink alcohol anymore, unless it's like a special occasion, but it's not something I do like to party all the time. Just keeping the so-called bad stuff out of your body, and what the bad stuff is, it really is up to you. Meaning, like, if you're vegan, obviously you wouldn't want, like meat in your body. So, if you're into that, like, if you're not into that, like, figure out what you would want to do. Like, it's one of those, it's a learning process, You don't just figure it out in a day. It's one of those things where you kind of have to slowly figure out your preferences and and then eventually learn through time and stuff like that. But, I actually wanted to continue on your question, and then I forgot what your original question was. So and I went off on a
nutritional regimen.
Oh yeah,
you did answer it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. That pretty much does answer.
I know you hydrate also a lot.
Oh yeah, I do hydrate a lot, and that's because like I found out that the couple of times when I woke up in the morning like not being able to walk, it was probably due to gout. And gout is prevalent among Asians. I've had it twice in my life, and it's very painful. And it's also left me with some kind of like permanent pain, like in my right big toe. So now I found out that being dehydrated is one of the, one of the things that could give you gout. So now there are a lot of reasons to stay hydrated. That's just an extra one that I added to it. I was like, okay, you know what? I don't want that again. So stay hydrated.
Everyone take a sip of water with that one. As we begin to close, Jardy, how can our community find you if they have additional questions? How can they find you if they want to take your classes either in person or online?
Currently, I teach in Sacramento, and the class I'm teaching currently is at Artful Eyes Studios. Artful Eyes Studios is a very, very small studio at the moment, so I can only fit about 8 people per class in my classes. So I don't really go all out with advertising that, because I usually do get enough people in the class, right? That's the only class I'm teaching right now at the moment, because I focus so much on my online course. So other than that, you can find my online course at housedance.com, but that's house-dance, like house-dance.com, not just straight house dance, okay? So house-dance.com. You could also email me at jardysantiago@gmail.com. That's JARDYSANTIAGO@gmail.com if you want to reach me directly. And you could find me in a whole bunch of other platforms under Jardy Santiago, including like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, things like that. I also have a lot of free tutorials on YouTube if you ever want to get into house dance.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Jardy, for talking to our community about house dancing and health.
You're welcome.
We're so honored to have featured you on our podcast.
Really happy to be here.
We are too. And definitely for our community to learn more about the world of house music and dance. We're excited to witness how your journey continues to unfold. At the age of 45, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And we're here to support you as your Philippine Exton Wellness family moving forward.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. As we close, we'd like to acknowledge once again our guest speaker, Jardy Santiago, our social media strategist, Kathleen Torrio, our graphic designer and beat maker for our opening and closing track, Ritchie, Jojo Flores, reigning from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, for a consent to use your edit of Boddhi Satva's track, The Depth of the Source, featuring Yuba, that you heard a snippet of during our break. Our advisors, Alison De La Cruz, Rianda Los Reyes, and Safo Dialogo. Our community partners is Filipino American Life, SoCal Filipinos, and Trek Table, and all of our community members for your shares and support. As always, we'll share more about our guest speakers' offerings on our Instagram stories and highlights for permanent access with any of their upcoming events. Be sure to follow us at Philippine Exton Wellness on Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and on Twitter at Philippine X, the letter N, followed by the letters N and S. Don't forget to continue to hit the subscribe button on our Philippine Exton Wellness YouTube channel. Thank you always for believing in us. Be well, everyone. Continue to take care of yourselves and each other. Durugid na nga salamat.